Hi, I'm Amy Cervini.
I'm Hillary Gardner.
And I'm Melissa Stilianu.
And we are Duchess.
When we started singing together, we discovered that humor, collaboration, and yes, imperfection were essential ingredients for our signature style of harmony.
We're setting out to explore what harmony means to creative people from all walks of life, and to learn how they find joy and success in their chosen field.
Along the way, there's sure to be laughter, storytelling, and probably hijinks. That's just who we are.
Hello and welcome to this brand spanking new episode of Harmony and Hijinks, where we are joined by a very special guest as well as a barking dog in the next room. So if you hear a little bit of extra commentary, there's nothing we can do about it. We live in New York City. Our guest today is an extraordinary musician, songwriter, educator, and someone whom I really think of as a singer's singer. You're so beloved by singers as a group. I'm speaking, of course, about Kate McGarry. Welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Well, you know, we're living the dream. You're here with us.
I am, and it feels really lovely. Thank you for having me.
Well, we were all very tickled when you said that you listen to our podcast.
Of course I do.
Anyone besides our moms listening is very much a big deal.
My mom doesn't even listen to it. So
I don't think my mom does either.
Actually, nor
but
does
she doesn't
mine.
know how to listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
I'll call him.
Okay, yeah.
It's really,
Do
I'll keep
that.
him up to date on it.
Actually, maybe don't. I like to be free to talk about situations in my childhood.
Yes,
You know,
and cuss
maybe it's better.
and do whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just me.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll just dive right in. Congratulations on your new album.
Thank you, Hillary.
It's very exciting. When did that come out?
It came out February 2nd.
So it really, it is a new album.
It still is. Well, by
yeah.
today's standards now, I guess it's over. It's done.
Oh, my
It's-
gosh.
no,
sad.
no, what do you get? 4 weeks and then you're
Out the door.
No.
geez.
We're doing, what do you call that? A rolling release where it's new and it's ever new, you know?
Yeah. Well, it'll always be new to someone.
exactly.
So, yeah.
That's how we're thinking of it.
Well, I was listening to it and I wanted to lead with a question that is sort of hyper specific, but I think it actually could open the door to telling all of our listeners who may not know a lot about you, more about you. I was so moved and taken by the song Climb Down on your new record. And you sing it so beautifully. There's so many layers of it and meaning and nuance, but I feel like it is very autobiographical. It seemed so personal, maybe not literally autobiographical, but I felt like I knew something about you listening to this tune. Can you talk about that song and
Yes.
how it came to be?
Yes, I will. You know, I was looking at, we were going through my parents' cellar, and they had passed and we were going to be selling the house, and we were going through a lot of old photographs and came upon a photograph of my great-grandmother, whose name was Catherine Kelly, and I was named after her. And she came over from Ireland and landed in Butte, Montana, and then eventually made it to Western Massachusetts, where she had 10 children of her own, 2 of which were died in early childhood. And but she there was a picture from 1916, I believe it was, with her, the grandfather who also passed, the great grandfather who passed away. I never knew of him, and their 8 children surrounding them, and she had a look in her eye that really made me understand that phrase, butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was a steely boredom. I don't know how to say it. It was sort of like she was kind of pissed, and she was kind of, I don't know, there was just like this weary but strong,
Resigned.
Yeah, it was an amazing look in her eye, and it was kind of like you could see all of what she had done in order to be there, you know. And I've often felt this kind of inside, a kind of, poking at me of like, what are you doing with your life? You're not doing enough. You should be doing more. We worked so hard to get here. We starved. We, everything. And to me, that kind of coming down from the crisis mentality of living and trying to actually just live and be in the moment is the goal. So to me, having this kind of dialogue where you're trying to get your DNA to settle down, and also to help them become free through your own work and through your own metastasizing, is that a word, of all of the metabolizing, sorry, not metastasizing, of all the experiences that they've had and what you want in your life, and try to come to terms with it. And so that's what the song is about. And that's why at the end I brought in a Celtic song that we all sang growing up, and that really makes me think of being over there in the trudging and the wars and whatnot. Yeah.
I was thinking about my maternal grandmother in particular. I have one grandmother who's still living, but I knew my maternal grandmother a little bit better, maybe even just through like a familial mythology. But my mother kind of often remarked, like, I wonder if she'd had all these choices, if she would have gone down that same path. It wasn't that she wasn't, maybe it wasn't that she wasn't happy, but it was more like you didn't think about if you were happy. You do what you do. And for women, there were just fewer options, and you know, she was in the Midwest, and so I think in a certain way there were even culturally fewer options there because there wasn't a New York to run away to, and there is a sort of sense of responsibility that kind of sets in when you think about the women that came before you and what they sort of had to do just by dint of the circumstances of their time and place. And I was thinking about that a lot, like what do I owe them? What do I owe those women with my own life? Yeah,
that's what Climb Down is about. It's that combination of that, of I owe you, and I want to free you, and I want to free myself, and I also want to be happy. And how do we do this? You know,
so interesting when you said that you're trying to shake your DNA, because I feel like there's a lot in that for a lot of women. There's this thing where I know for me, the question of what do I want is often like, I just didn't think about it for years.
Yeah.
And I think that's just from watching what happened around me as a kid and growing up. Like, what a woman wants didn't really matter because my mom was constantly giving to us. And, you know, the older generations were, you know, stuck in whatever, you know, reality they were stuck in terms of choice and power. And so it takes a lot to be able to, like, recognize that you're not asking that question ever, and then to like then deal with it.
And then
that's
to
like,
ask it.
Right. And then to ask it. And then there are times where I sit there, I sit there and I'm like, well, that's too hard a question. I don't know. That's like, I can't even wrap what do I want right now? You mean I don't think about anyone else? Or do you still sort of think of other people, but then only like to just, it's a lot of stuff. And how lovely to be able to deal with that in song.
Yeah. And that concept of helping them heal, and that line where you say, you know, I want to free them, but first I want to see them.
Right.
Like, come on down and see what we've done with the place. It's something that I just remembered when you were speaking, one of my therapists in Toronto talking about just the concept of, you know, even just in your own life, taking advantage of the idea of healing your ancestors. Like, maybe I'm not going to like tell my mom, I'm really working on your shit right now for you. You're welcome. But it really makes a big difference if you can think about it in that way. And the other thing that came to mind when you spoke about seeing your great grandmother's picture, my dad's mom died when he was 13. And so I never met her. My middle name is her name, Antigone. And I saw a picture of her just once, and I was probably 17. I wasn't a little kid, but sometimes, you know, I say the weirdest things, you know, guys, right?
No.
So he showed me this picture, and there was really only one. Like, it was the very first time and the only time he ever showed me a picture of her. And what came out of my mouth was, she scares me, something like that. And he was
bingo,
very hurt. But I think it may have been, from what I've heard of her, it may have been a fairly apt reaction. I think she was, you know, she also had 7 kids, only 1 survived. So, I mean, I don't know how many died after they were born exactly, but my dad was an only child. But it was, you know, so she had a tough life for sure. And it's amazing what you can see in a picture. And, you know, perhaps he was upset because it was maybe something that he was dealing with too. I think it was a tough relationship for him too. But I do think about her from time to time, and wish I knew more about her, and I wish I had the opportunity to learn more about her.
It feels like that there is that aspect though, that every once in a while when I really like clue in, it's like, oh, this heaviness, it can't just be mine. You know what I mean? We're carrying something, we're carrying. And I don't know, I feel like if we just meet, you can meet them if getting really quiet and just letting all the things come up. And sometimes it's really surprising how much is in there in terms of tears or pain or whatever, or strength.
And just connection, even this feeling of. I mean, I grew up very far away geographically from everyone in my family, but I remember seeing a photograph of this grandmother, and our calves were exactly,
wow.
And I mean, we look exactly the same, and just that was profound. Like, oh, like I come from some people that were before. I mean, it's obviously it's the most obvious thing in the world, but to have a sense that the connection might be deeper than just the biology of it. And there is actually science, I haven't read a ton about it, but about how trauma and cellular memory is passed down through our DNA. I mean, these experiences can translate into our physical realities from generation to the next.
And raised cortisol levels.
Oh, goody.
Exactly.
Actually, right. They've been measuring that.
In utero. Yeah.
Right.
So there's that. And then there's what you are able to do for audiences who don't know anything about you, or who aren't maybe connecting with the story of the song even on that level, but just being in the audience at one of your shows is a really heart-opening experience. And I look around, and I know I'm not the only one, and everybody is trying to get a piece of you at the end. And I think it's not just to get a cute selfie, but to kind of let you know that you've really touched them, and you've been doing this for so long, and using jazz standards and writing your own songs and sharing your story. But there's just something about the way you do what you do that is really singular and really deep. And I'm a big admirer.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. To me, the whole thing about making community, or a feeling of a living room, or a feeling of that it's a safe place to feel that whatever all the human spectrum is that's to me the point of it. And I guess maybe that's why more intimate rooms I really like, or anything where it can feel like you are seeing people and they're seeing you. I've had that experience in larger situations, but mostly it's sort of like jazz clubs,
It's kind of the nature of what the music is in a certain way. There's something that is intrinsically intimate about it.
It's like that third space, or a fourth space, right? Not the third space where bringing your laptop like Starbucks, but the fourth space where you're away from your home. You can enter a new. And I feel like, I don't know about you, when you go to do your work, like you get to be a different part of yourself, maybe. And that for me is a big part of it, is to let that other one out, who gets to dress up, who gets to be very confident, who gets to be, to really be a host and to really share. And that's a really special aspect of it for me too. But yeah, just the making of a feeling of community is the goal.
But so I feel like I know you the least out of the three of us. I've spent the least amount of time with you doing what we're doing right now. But the first time that I saw you perform, it was in duo with Fred Hirsch at the Jazz Standard. And the word that I kept using when I would talk about it was what a generous performer you are, and how completely open you seem to be just in every moment, that whatever was happening, it felt like such a conversation, and that it was presented with a great generosity of spirit. Very often when I'm singing, it's just this constant ticker tape at the bottom of CNN of oh, that wasn't so good. Oh my God, what is your face doing? Why did you wear these shoes? Just this constant monologue. And then there are these moments of feeling as though all of that falls away. And I want to know if you had to learn to be that present, or if that's something you think about or have cultivated, or are you just, is there hope? That's what I'm asking.
Well, having been in the audience and heard you sing, I just have to say that I've had that very same experience listening to you. So I would never have guessed that the ticker tape was there. But,
Thank you.
Because there is this openness and generous nature of your singing. So no, that's how I feel when I have heard each one of you, and that's. So good. It's a club and everybody's invited. But I feel like it has taken a long time to get to feel some amount of safety. And sometimes I feel it and sometimes I don't, and it's an ongoing thing. And the voice can be in different spaces and at different ability levels. And but it does feel of late that it's getting stronger and better, and as I get older, which is nice. But the feeling of connection and of safety within the song, I feel like, is growing, and the feeling of groundedness and of openness, and that makes it more of a joy to sing. Yeah, there's a feeling of trust of the space and of the people. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah,
yay. and we can totally edit this part out, but
yeah.
I saw on Twitter somewhat recently somebody was wishing you a happy birthday. It was a publication or something, and either through some kind of misguided attempt at doing you a solid, or they just an honest mistake, they like shaved a few years off of your age.
Oh, yeah?
And you tweeted right back, you're like, actually, I was born in 1970 and I'm going to take those extra years. And it was it made me so happy, and I found it very inspiring. I'm like, yeah, God damn it. My next birthday, I'm going to say how old I am, not a moment before.
But
that idea that you sink more into this feeling of joy and safety and expansiveness in the music as you get older, and that, in fact, we shouldn't run from that.
Yeah.
And that you were so bold with it on Twitter. I just loved it.
55.
There you go.
Yeah, and it was, Gavin, was it James Gavin?
Oh, okay.
Had thought I was 47 for some reason. I was like, I'll take those. Right, I'll take those 7
I like
years.
that idea though about claiming that though. It's like, no, we went through that fire of. I mean, that's. I'll say I'm turning 40 this year. I'm entering the club, but it's shocking. I feel shocked by it. Like, come on, that's not happening.
Right.
And yet. It was hard. It's been great, but like we earned it. I mean, and also there's a tremendous amount of just luck and good fortune and getting to be here for more years too. But I'm past the point of wanting to not claim that,
Right. When I think of my 22-year-old self or whatever, I just that poor girl, I just want to hold her and just let her just weep. And, and I wouldn't go back there you couldn't pay me to go back there. So, yep.
Miss the ass. Don't miss anything else.
I miss not having to dye my grays, but that's about it. Yeah. Speaking of your 22-year-old self, I didn't know how many records you had made. I thought I knew the whole Kate McGarry catalog, but it turns out I didn't. And I think I counted 8 or 9 solo records.
It depends where you're starting with. Easy to Love.
Yeah.
Did you? That's the one from Los Angeles that was done on Vacuum Tube Logic record label.
Oh,
it was an audiophile label, and it was just this guy David Manley, and he makes these really high end Manley not stereo components, but recording equipment, like really really high end recording equipment. He got into recording for a little bit while he was in Los Angeles. He died since then. But I had a band, a wonderful band back then, and we just went into a room and worked for 11 hours and put together a record. And I see the pictures and everything from it, and they're just hilarious. But it's a sweet record. I feel like it has, it's like there I am, and kind of seed form. But it was before I figured out how to actually make something have, I don't know, there's that mystery of like, how am I going to actually make this into a magical journey? you know, like how I feel inside. And that to me is that came with the first one was Show Me, was the first one where it was like that magical process happened with so much help and assistance, and a wonderful producer named Steve Santoro, who I went to school with. But in the meantime, I had my appendix out like 2 weeks before we went recorded, and I was as sick as could be, and I was weak as a little lamb because I was so. I don't know if you experience this when you make something. Do you go through like hero's journey? You know, where you like trial by fire, and you just. I mean.
I stomach churning neurosis, but I like the term hero's journey much better.
No sleep the night before. Almost always get sick.
Yeah. I mean, I was so terrified, panic attacks, and it was sort of like something was literally trying to get birth, but I didn't know how it was going to happen, but there was so much like love and like intense desire and grace and just all these different things and help assistance. And it was actually before they did Kickstarters, you know, this was like maybe 1999 or something. I hadn't even ever heard of it. And I asked a bunch of friends and people helped me to make it. And it was like, it was a dream come true. It really was. And I felt like this does reflect, you know.
I love that recording and arrangement of Show Me.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Steve Cardenas played it for me the first time. We were in his car driving to a gig in Connecticut, and he was like, check this out. I mean, I knew you, but I didn't know that recording, and it's so incredible. And you can hear kind of the Kate McGarry sound that I just adore, and that is like a constant thing through all of these recordings. And anytime you sing any song, whether it's an Irish song or one of your own songs or a standard, there's really this very personal take on it that isn't about the reharmonization or it's something deeper than that and more than the accoutrement. It's really something to aim for, I think, you know, to be able to hear that in yourself and then try to get that out there.
You know, I discovered that record in Tower Records on 14th Street in the listening station.
Yes.
Yeah.
God. You remember you'd go, you put on the headphones and you just like fall down so rabbit holes.
I know. And I have the first pressing, actually, because it came out twice, right?
Exactly.
It came out twice, and I found it when it came out the first time, and it was in the listening station. And then when it came out again, I was like, oh, great. And then I went and I was like, that's the same one. I don't understand what's happening right now. but yeah, I fell in love with it immediately. Bought it, Tower Records.
It was getting your record in Tower Records. I don't know, you guys are too young for this, but we had, you know, you go there and you beg the guy, please listen to this. You know, here, I've got gigs here and here. Will you please carry this? And talked him into carrying it, and then it was about shortly after that Palmetto picked it up, and then they decided to really release it, which was really nice. But they put a new cover on it.
Oh my goodness. I had that same experience at HMV in Toronto and Sam's Record. I would go there and
ask
I actually sold CDs on consignment at Sam's.
Wow,
that's what it was.
Yeah. I was like, come on, I'm really good. Trust me. You have to just trust me. We had like. Go-getter. And then If Less Is More, Nothing Is Everything was nominated for a Grammy. Yay!
That was really a beautiful moment for me. I don't know if you know, when you have that something that happens.
We've never
like
been
that.
nominated.
Not yet. But when that happens, I mean, I just have to say, it was just like, I had a kind of peacefulness that I was not expecting. It was a deep feeling of peacefulness. I wasn't like, yay! I was like, okay. You know what I mean? I felt this deep peace, like that felt like it was ages old, not just 10 years or 20 years. It's like forever old. To just have this feeling of like, we see you, you know, and it was a feeling of being seen, and that I apparently needed in this lifetime. So I was especially grateful for that grace, because as you know, it feels like luck. You know what I mean? It really does, because, you know, that is.
A friend of mine said, like, I was able to stop waitressing because I booked a Broadway show, and I knew I would never do another Broadway show because I'm not a Broadway. Like the whole thing was, it was luck. There was a tremendous amount of just being in the right place at the right time, fitting into this very specific thing. And I was able to leave restaurants and whatever. And I was saying to a musician friend that I was a little bit embarrassed by how validated I felt by this, because it goes against all the wisdom that we're given about this whole process where, you shouldn't be validated by outside whatever, and that it's arbitrary. And I felt so validated. But he's like, but you know what? No one can ever take this away from you. Exactly. And I think that's what it was. It wasn't that like, this is it, baby, I'm all set. Wait, look out, world. It wasn't that at all. But it was like, no matter what else happens or doesn't, they can never take this away.
Yeah, you just said it. That's it.
Well, George Gershwin and Ira Gershwin also.
From me.
Cue music. Yeah. Let's talk about harmony.
Yes.
Because I feel like our clock is running down, and we have sort of a big question that we ask all our guests. Absolutely. Usually having remembered it right before the end of our podcast and clumsily wording it because we haven't figured out a concise way to ask it of people. So you're welcome. But the podcast is titled Harmony and Hijinks. We clearly have a good handle on the hijinks, but we determined for all of us that are sort of ingredients for us to make harmony in a broader sort of way, not just musical harmony, but we have to laugh, we have to work together, and laughter,
imperfection,
laughter, collaboration, and imperfection. Yes. Oh, right. Wow. Of course, naturally, I forgot. We're not perfect. That's the human element.
It's the fourth one.
But so, like, for us to do anything, whether it's having fun on stage or actually singing together or doing this podcast or whatever it is, those ingredients have to be in place or it doesn't feel harmonious. So we were wondering what harmony means to you as a artist, a collaborator, communicator.
I remember this from your other podcast. But of course, I didn't think of it in time to be like, I should plan an answer for that. But I do. For me, harmony is it means the same thing as alignment. Energetic alignment. And so, and I'm, because I work with my husband, Keith Gans, so closely, the feeling of being in alignment feels really important for me between myself and whoever I'm playing with. And a feeling of acceptance of whatever is happening. And that doesn't mean, it means often letting go of my idea of how it's supposed to be, whether that's a tempo or whether that's a particular thing. But sometimes it does mean holding to it and getting them to come with me. So it's interesting that harmony for me doesn't necessarily coincide with singing with another person, because that's not, I very rarely did it. Melissa and I had that beautiful experience of doing it this weekend. Thank you so much for inviting me. But in general, I don't sing a lot of harmony. So, and I usually feel very unsteady or ungrounded in that, because I feel like my voice, I never know what's going to come out. So it really is like, harmony is like an iffy prospect. So I feel like I'm still, in terms of singing with another person, that kind of harmony, coming to a little bit more of a steadiness in myself that I can be like, sure, I'll sing a harmony with you, Right now, it doesn't feel like that's a good bet, but sometimes it works.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But the other way that it means is alignment for me.
I think that's maybe one of the most elegant, the idea of alignment relating to harmony is perfect.
Nice.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But let's talk about Moss for a second. I hear that, let's get some gossip.
Oh, okay.
Because you guys just had a show. It's in the last year. Oh yeah, 6 months even.
Yeah.
That's good. And so is something going to happen there, or did you guys just do that show?
I think we got a spark back under our little butts, and it was a beautiful week. It was really intense. And Joe Lowry joined us for the first time, and it was funny that we traded Luciana, because she had just had a baby, for Joe, who was just about to have a baby. But it was really beautiful. Each person came up with a new song, so we got to work on old things, and we also each brought something new. And it is clear that the vision that each person brings is so different, so unique from the others, that it really creates a fifth space where, you leave what you know, and yet you bring everything that you are with you. And I don't know, it's a real interesting thing. And when we left that, we were like, okay, we're going to do this. So I think the next thing, Theo was talking about helping us get a National Sawdust show, and to be something, but we don't have any dates, and we don't. But we've got another good record in us, and we need another residency, I think, to get it to a point where it could, or just a wild weekend somewhere.
Well, now at least you guys are all on the same coast. Is that true?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, with Lou, you had LA to deal with, but
Yeah.
now Peter's not in New York, and you're not in New York, but
Right.
You guys are closer.
Yes, exactly. It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah. I just moved here, 12 and a half years ago? And it was shortly after I moved here that I got to know you, Kate. But right after I got to know you, you moved to North Carolina. I remember we had a cup of tea for about 10 minutes at MSM. In between students, you came down and met me. And we had a couple of phone conversations where you really helped me out with some stuff I was thinking about. Although we see each other pretty frequently because you come back to New York so much. But Kate lives in North Carolina, and I wondered if you could talk a bit about that and what life's like now. And you're back in New York a lot because of teaching.
Yeah, I come up to teach, and I've also been just doing some nice projects here. And it looks like Leaves of Grass is back kind of on the map, and we're going to, in 2019, we have a tour, we're going to be playing I think there's 5 or 6 dates. It's really nice. So I'm excited. I'll be, around doing that. And John Hollenbeck, I did 2 records with John Hollenbeck's large ensemble with Theo Bleckman in Germany. And we have a third one, Songs You Like a Lot, I think it's called. The first one was Songs I Like a Lot, Songs We Like a Lot, Songs You Like a Lot. It's happening next May. Those are 2 things. When we recorded The Subject Tonight Is Love, we actually recorded a second record called What to Wear in the Dark. And it is... and it's, to me, this record has a lot of... it also, it's Keith Gans, Gary Versace, myself, with the addition of Obed Calvaire and Ron Miles on trumpet.
Beautiful.
And this record is different because it's sort of songs from when you are backed into a corner and you cannot see your way out. And what do you do? So it's sort of like meeting that, the dark, and let's be here and see what we do, which it feels like is pretty apropos to where we are in our lives now. But and I'm just looking for the a conduit and the way to get that out. But it's pretty much, it's done. It's not mixed or mastered or edited yet, but the recording is done, and we've heard some bits of it, and it's really nice. So that's going to happen, hopefully, mid next year. And so there's a lot of fun things like that going on. I really feel like I'm on a upswing right now.
Yay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I totally ignored Durham. Durham feels like for me right now a place where I go home to rest a little bit. It's not, although there's a beautiful performing arts center there, Duke Performances, and they bring everyone down. Maria Schneider's coming with her orchestra next week. They did this Monk Festival, 10 days Monk Festival last winter, and it was amazing 10 straight days of Monk's music, all Monk's music, with different pianists, different groups. And this year, the same curator, his name's Aaron Greenwald, is doing a singer one.
Oh, nice.
And it's going to be, he's got Cecile McLaurin, Jasmia Horn, Nellie Mackay, Renee Marie, and myself.
Oh, what a lineup.
So that's Durham. It's going to be a festival. It's actually and Nina Freelon, who is also down there. She hasn't, I'm not sure if she has formally accepted yet, but I think it's like an 8-day thing. So it's just going to be straight on jazz singing, and I think it's called something like singing jazz. Like it's not like it's supposed to be, hip hop or R&B or whatever. It's it's the jazz tradition, singing in the jazz tradition. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
So
I like that.
Yeah. So that's really, there's some exciting things happening in Durham. There's a beautiful club called the Sharp Nine, the Sharp Nine Gallery, which it just holds like 70 people. But can I tell you, these people are savvy, they're smart, they come out. You guys could come down and do a show, and it would we would fill the place for you, and they would love it. And I don't know,
would you sing with us if we come?
Try and stop me,
So when's that date that we have? September.
That's right.
We have something.
Do you have something near?
Close-ish?
Really?
We already thought
Closer
about
than New York.
Closer than New York.
And I have a little cottage you can stay. It's really sweet there.
We sleep at least 2 to a bed. Sometimes.
We've
never tried 3, but
but
that would be great.
Yeah.
So a place to rest, but also places to play. And, and you play in Alpharetta at the Velvet Note
the
from
Velvet
time to time,
Note,
right?
Yeah. It's a sweet place. Yeah. Lots of beautiful places to play. But yeah, I do. I've been feeling more drawn to being here, to tell you the truth, and have been feeling more a little bit like, should I come back? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to talk to Keith about it because he's like,
I was going to say, how's that going to work?
Yeah. He's
You
not
might
so
meet
into the
some
idea.
resistance.
Right.
I
They
have a
keep losing
feeling.
his suitcase
I
when
know.
you fly here. Then he's not going to be.
He's not going to do it. Yeah.
Did he finally get his?
He did. He
Okay,
just
good.
got it last night.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
After 3 days. Wearing the
Brutal. It's
exact
not
same
that
clothes.
far.
Yeah.
Where'd it go? Oh. Duchess questionnaire, you guys.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Kate McGarry, where were you born?
I was born in Pittsfield, Massachusetts.
Did you grow up there?
I spent my first year there, moved to Stockbridge, Massachusetts, and then moved to Hyannis, Mass.
Wow.
Grew up there.
Did you know the Kennedys? Not one of the questions.
Well, I have
I'm
to
diverging.
say, we went to the same church as them, and because there were so many of us, there was a Kennedy's row that was reserved for them, and we were always late, but for some reason, and people wouldn't sit there. My parents would walk us up and sit us in the Kennedy's row, and people would be like, was that Caroline? We would be mistaken for the Kennedys, but we were so like, how could we possibly be? Because we were like total ragtag, crew, but there were 10 of us, so it was like,
That is amazing.
Catholic family must be the Kennedys. They're sitting in their seats.
I love it.
It's amazing.
What's your favorite drink?
Oh, I'm not so much of a drinker, but I have been getting into a certain Chardonnay called Bread and Butter.
Ooh.
Have you had that before?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, it's good.
I just think
We'll
pickles
try
when
that.
you say bread and butter. I don't know.
Pickles?
Yeah, bread and butter pickles.
Oh,
Oh.
And I love pickles.
Ah.
But we
Oh.
did, but actually you were the first one to go to the bar before our gig on St. Patrick's
That's
Day. Even before we
true.
started,
And
I
I
was
got a
like,
Jameson's.
I'm going to do it too. I was trying to play cool, but we both had a Jameson before we sang.
You
I do like a
wild
Jameson.
women.
Yeah.
I do like a
Yes, a
Jameson.
little Irish whiskey.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do? I mean, it's St. Patrick's Day, for heaven's
Yeah,
sake.
I have to have at least one. Question
What
number
song
3.
makes you dance? I don't know if it's number 3, but it's
Doesn't
a question
matter.
we ask.
Oh, I really love this Chaka Khan song. I feel for you. You know that
The
song?
Prince wrote that.
Really?
Yeah. Prince wrote that, and she had a
That's
big hit with it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love you.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Oh, I remember one. What makes you laugh?
Oh man, what makes me laugh? Silly things. Just I like silly humor. I don't know. I like the Marx Brothers. I like, I don't know. I like old stuff.
Slapstick.
Well, like Three Stooges, not so much, but
Okay.
I have never, as an aside, I have never met a man who didn't love the Three Stooges, and I have never met a woman who does. In all my years, just putting that out there.
I guess that's a little different. Bailey and I have been watching a lot of Donald O'Connor,
Oh,
sort
no,
of
I
a
don't know him.
different kind of
Oh, okay,
slapstick.
yeah.
From
Make 'em laugh, yeah.
Make him laugh. Have you seen Singing in the Rain?
Oh,
So that whole
okay.
bit he does, Bailey can do the whole like routine. He just involves him falling on the floor a lot, saying make him laugh.
being with kids. I have some neighbors who are young, and I can one of them's like, we've been there for 9 years, so we knew them since they were tiny, and just hanging out with them for hours, just laughing and rolling around. It's good. That's my jam.
And what makes you cry?
Everything makes me cry. Literally everything. and it can just tears of joy and tears of sorrow and tears of poignancy and tears of irritability. I don't know. It's like I think tears are my main fluid.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I have never had anything else that I wanted to do. I never, and I've tried a couple other things as before I was just I had a window washing company. I had out in LA. I went and had clear view windows, hanging outside of windows, doing squeegeeing.
My gosh, so not afraid of heights?
I am afraid of heights, so it wasn't a good match, but I did it anyways. I mean, I've done a lot of different things, but singing is the only thing that I really ever felt like was my calling.
That's sort of, I feel like you already answered the follow-up question, which was, which would you not like to do?
Window washing.
Yeah.
I lived in an ashram for a number of years. And I have to say there was something about that felt right for me, especially at the time, and that I sometimes feel like I could go somewhere for a couple years, you know what I mean? And just not talk and be better for it.
Wow. I knew that you had been in an ashram, at an ashram, but I guess I didn't understand what that word meant. And I thought, she went somewhere for a week. That's nice. I didn't realize you lived for years.
Yeah. I was in the meditation community for about 23 years, and it was really, I feel like it really helped me grow, and the chanting was one thing that helped me really, I think, get deeper in my own singing. And I don't know, there was a lot of really special aspects of it, but eventually, it, even being there, it was really clear, I must perform. I have to share.
What is your favorite place in the world?
Oh, wow. At the ocean, and either at sunset or at sunrise. And it could be, I've been at a number of different oceans where that felt like my favorite. But I grew up in Cape Cod, and so some of those oceans feel especially tender.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Harmony and Hijinks. You can buy Laughing at Life wherever music is sold and through our website, duchesstrio.com. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Duchess Trio. And please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or your favorite podcatcher. See you next time on Harmony and Hijinks.